Hello everyone on YouTube, it's Jordan here again and welcome back to another video. Now in this video I'm going to be doing an updated video on getting around your Linux system using Orca. And if you're curious to know what distribution I'm using, I'm running Debian because Debian ships packages as the developers intended, which is a good thing since we are using Orca as the developers intended. So, I'm going to go ahead and shut my Linux system down because I want to show you something. Now you may not see this on your specific desktop environment or distribution, but you will see it on mine and on some other distributions. So I'm going to go boot my system up now and show you what Orca looks like in the login screen. So I'm waiting for my computer to boot, which it is doing. That beep is specific to Debian, so that means it's coming up in a bit. That's a Debian grub thing. This takes a while. Now, this is a pretty fast computer.
Screen reader on.
Here we go.
Frame. Text. Enter your username.
So, after you've installed a Linux distribution with Orca, now you may not see the username on your distribution, the username field, but here it's really prevalent on mine. Here's the username field, so I'm just going to type mine in.
JRDN. Return. Password text.
And let's type in the password.
Bullet.
And we'll log in.
Screen reader at test.
Don't know what happened there, but it should say that your screen reader is on. And to get to you, I'm using the Mate desktop. Now, if you want to follow along, here's what I recommend you doing. Make sure that your distribution is running Mate 1.24 and newer, because this version of Debian is running 1.24 of the Mate desktop. If you're running Ubuntu, the latest versions of Ubuntu anyhow, you'll be running Mate 1.26. And because Mate is a fork of GNOME 2, or GNOME 2, then nothing's really changed. The only thing that has changed is the themes. So let's take a look at our desktop. So
Bottom. Desktop.
Here we
desktop.
go.
Icon view.
Here's our desktop layout. So if I navigate with my arrow keys,
Jordan's home icon.
I've got my home folder, and that's the only thing that's on my desktop. Your distribution may put stuff there, like the computer icon and network servers, and even your rubbish bin. But if you install Mate Tweak, which you can from the software repositories, you have access to many different things. So that is pretty cool. Oh, did I mention that Debian is not really recommended for new users? So these instructions will apply to Ubuntu. So if you're using Ubuntu, you can follow along. So those who are still running Ubuntu, don't try Debian. It might be hard for you to install, and it may not even work on your system. So the only thing that's on my desktop at the moment is my home folder. So I'm simply going to go press enter on that.
Jordan frame. Icon view 0 items.
And here's my home folder. Now by default, Orca doesn't show tutorial messages. I'll show you how to do that later. But for now, we're going to navigate our file structure. So by default, you're in icon view, and I recommend you stay in this view unless there's any reason to switch from icon view to list view. Now, it's very different from Windows, because to navigate your folder structure, you simply use the left and right arrow keys instead of the up and down arrow keys. So what you want to do is do this. What I do is, I'm in my main home directory now. So if I press the arrow key,
desktop folder.
I'm in desktop.
Documents folder.
I'm in documents.
Downloads folder. Dropbox folder.
And I've got Dropbox because I use Dropbox. You may not see the Dropbox there unless you do use Dropbox, but since I use Dropbox, I've also
Music
got
phone.
music.
Nextcloud.
I got my Nextcloud.
Nextcloud 2 folder.
There's 2 Nextcloud folders. Oh, yeah, because I installed the Flatpak. I don't know which one my main Nextcloud is. I should imagine Nextcloud 2 is. I think I can delete this old one.
Alert.
Let me have a
Can
go.
delete. Jordan Frame.
Yeah, Nextcloud 2 is connected to the Debian package because my original one was connected to the Flatpak package, and I simply don't recommend using Flatpak. They don't work that well with Orca, and well, Orca just kind of lags on them. But it's not really Orca's fault, really. It's the developer of the application, for that matter. It's Flatpak's fault for being, well, generally unstable. And that's why Debian doesn't recommend you use Flatpak.
Pictures Nextcloud 2. Public folder.
So there's the public folder.
Template video. Desktop.
So as you'll expect, pressing enter
Docout Dropbox.
will open subfolders,
Dropbox. Anti-X folder. Audio Realtek 6.
and you can browse the files in such folders. And pressing back
Jordan.
will take you back, just like you'd expect on Windows. Now, I'm going to cover how to create a new folder. Now, on a Linux system, to create a new folder, you press Ctrl, Shift and N.
Untitled folder.
Now, the folder has been created, but we're in the blank edit box where I can type in the name. I'm going to go call this test.
CET.
Now, create this on my home folder.
Untitled folder. Icon view.
Now, even though it says untitled folder, the name has actually changed to test.
Test folder.
So now we're on the test folder and stuff. And what you want to do is this. What I like to do, let's say we want to copy the folder. And don't worry, because the shortcuts you're used to using on Windows are exactly the same. Control and C, Control and V, and so on, Control and X. But I want to show you them working so that you know that these do work. So again, Control and C.
Copied selection to clipboard.
And Orca's really clever. It does tell you that that these have actually been copied, and to some extent, VoiceOver does that as well on Mac. NVDA, not so much. So I want to put this in my documents folder.
Documents folder. Documents.
So I'm in my documents. I navigate to the documents by the left and right arrow keys. I press enter on the documents. Now, if you're using a different file manager, I suggest you switch to using Karja, the one I'm using right now, for this exercise. And I also suggest you switch away from the GNOME desktop if you're using Ubuntu to the Mate desktop. That way you can follow along what I'm doing. Now I'm going to go copy this by pressing Ctrl and V.
Pasted contents from clipboard. Test folder.
And here's my test folder, which is now in my documents folder. Let's say now that I've got a copy of a file, I want to delete that. There's 2 ways you can go ahead of doing that. You can press the delete key, and that just puts it in your wastebasket, which is what we call the recycle bin in Linux. We call it the wastebasket. And that is, say you want to have, you can have access to that at a later, if you accidentally delete it, but you have to be quick because it will delete within a certain amount of time. Or if you're like me and you want to delete files immediately, I'll show you. I'm going to go back to my documents.
New next picture. Public templates. Test folder.
So the test folder. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one, and it'll ask.
Alert warning. Are you sure you want to permanently delete test? If you delete an item, it will be permanently lost. Delete push button.
And there's the delete button. Now Orca calls these push buttons.
Jordan Frame.
And that's file management. That's how to do file management. Now if you want to search for files, Orca, there is no first letter navigation for the most part. There is, but only for a short while. What's really happening is you're actually typing into the search box. So let's say I want to search for box.
B-O-X.
So I'm typing box into the search box. Okay, for some reason that's not
Map
working.
places close. Table with 15 rows, 1 column. Jordan. Toggle button. Push button. Jordan. Documents. Toggle button. Icon view.
I haven't really messed with the search functions because I generally don't use them. And it might even be different depending on your distribution and how they package the Mate desktop. So there's file management. Now that we've covered that, I'm going to show you the actual layout of the desktop. So in Windows, you may be used to something called the system tray or the notification shade, if you're used to the mobile platforms. Now what you want to do in the Mate desktop specifically, Debian uses Vanilla Mate, so we're referring to the official Mate keyboard shortcuts. Now, the same shortcut to getting to your desktop, Control, Alt and Escape, actually puts you in your notification area as well and your system tray. And this is where you can find stuff like your wireless networks and your battery status icons and stuff like that. So let's show that off.
Desktop.
So I'm on my desktop. If I keep holding these down.
Bottom panel.
Now in Mate, you've got two panels. So this is the bottom panel. So to navigate these, you simply use the numeric keypad. Numeric keypad 4 and numeric keypad 6 are used to navigate this area. It's really it's easy to use instead of using the arrow keys. And you can use a fabulous feature of Orca called Flat Review. I absolutely love this feature and I wish NVDA had it.
Show desktop button.
Got show desktop.
Not pressed.
Which is not pressed. You can actually use the mouse keys, the numpad divide and numpad slash, minus even, to actually click these. And at this point, if I click the show desktop button, it would take me to the desktop or show the desktop.
Jordan.
And there's my...
Not show not.
I've got my home folder open. Now, you'll often find open applications here as well, sometimes. But your main area...
Desktop top panel. Top panel
is here on your top panel.
Play system.
And here we have places, we've got system.
Icon.
Now, if you want to have access to these icons,
not pressed icon.
There's three of these, you'll have to click the icon with your mouse key. So if I use the numpad slash.
Applications. Places icon. Menu.
So here's one of them, I can't activate the other one.
BTW port 5.
So here I'm seeing my Wi-Fi networks.
Menu.
I'm connected to the internet already, so I don't really do anything else. So let's just keep navigating.
Icon not pressed. Click to new month calendar.
You can also see the calendar here as well. And some other applications may play stuff there like Dropbox. Maybe you'll find Skype there. Maybe even all the other applications
menu bar
that you want access. You've got the menu bar if you need it.
Panel notes.
By tabbing.
Panel.
You've got your notifications there if you need to. And that's just about it for the system tray.
Bottom.
Now, the next thing I want to show you is how to navigate your applications. Now, if you're using anything based off of Ubuntu, you will actually press the super key, which we call the Windows key. This is the Windows key, you know, the one I'm talking about. That opens the start menu in Windows. It's called the super key in Linux. So we don't call it the Windows key, and Linux community doesn't call it that either because of you know, trademark and stuff. So in Vanilla Mate, pressing that key doesn't do anything, but in Ubuntu it does. So I can't show you all that because I'm not using Ubuntu, I'm using Debian. However, I can show you something that works regardless of what distribution you're running. Now, if you want access to your applications, in Mate, we press Alt and F1.
Panel. Applications menu.
And here's your applications menu. So you can scroll through here, you're in your categories group.
Applications menu.
These are your categories.
Accessories.
It's all arranged in like a grid, so you've got accessories.
Chromium DOS apps menu. Graphics menu. Internet menu. Graphics menu.
Graphics.
Internet menu.
Internet.
Office menu. Sound video menu. System tools menu. Accessories menu. System tools menu.
And some menus are hidden, like these additional menus. Now, if you want to go to the rest, you press the left arrow key.
System menu. Preferences menu.
So you're now in the system menu. You can actually change how Mate looks. So you won't often see this. Mate can look different depending on how your distribution does this. So simply pressing left actually puts you in the system menu. And here in this you've got additional category. You've got administration,
control center.
You've got your control center,
Help.
the help, about Mate,
lock screen,
and you've got
logout Jordan.
You've got your power options here as well, which is kind of nice.
Shutdown preferences menu.
And I'm simply going to go to the preference menu.
Hardware menu, internet and network menu, look and feel menu, other menu, personal menu, hardware menu.
So all your settings are going to be in here.
Internet and network menu.
And you simply I like to call this expanding a menu. So let's expand the menu right now. So let's say you're looking for an app like VLC Media Player.
Graphic Office Sound Video Blanket.
We've got Blanket,
Sound VLC Media Player,
and VLC. So pressing enter just opens that app.
VLC Media Player frame.
There you go. Yeah, the app is open. Now,
Jordan.
I'm not going to be showing common actions because, if you use some apps on Windows, I'm not going to be showing you them in this tutorial. This is just going to be an updated video on how to use Orca in general and how to navigate the Linux system altogether. So stuff like LibreOffice isn't going to be focused here because while I've covered that in the older video that I did, since you can get LibreOffice on Windows, I don't need to show you that, especially if you already know how to use LibreOffice. So I don't need to show that, and plus I don't have it installed on here either. However, I can show you how to get applications. And there's two ways you can do this, or several, if you're advanced. You've got the Synaptic Package Manager installed on here, but I don't recommend using Synaptic because it's more for the advanced users. Instead,
Office Sound System Card Lock Mate Power Statistics Software.
If your distribution comes with GNOME software, I recommend using this.
System Profiler and Benchmark Software.
So I'm going to open that.
Jordan Frame. Icon View. Applications Menu. Menu. Welcome dialog. Welcome to software. Let's software frame.
And here we
Search
go.
toggle button not pressed.
Now this is the App Store. This is where you're going to get the majority of your applications, unless you need to download additional packages from the internet. Now, since I don't have any other locally stored dev files to show you, I may do, I'm not sure. I can't demonstrate this. However, it does depend on your distribution. But all I know is you can actually use this application to install sideload apps on Linux. You simply right-click it, right-click the application package and select software install. And now, depending on your distribution, you'll get either a DEB format or an RPM format. Generally speaking, this will happen, RPMs will happen if you're using Fedora, OpenSUSE and Mageia, but Mageia isn't accessible anyway. Debs are very common. They appear in Linux Mint, Debian, Ubuntu, and of course MX Linux, except MX Linux isn't accessible, so I can't include that. So we're going to search for an application. So I want to go, so if we're on the search box now, so you just press space.
Pressed. Search text.
And I want to install Audacity, so we search for that.
AUDACRTY.
Press enter. And then you simply tab.
Search page, search toggle, search page panel.
And here's the list of results.
Audacity record and edit audio files.
So here we have Audacity. You simply press enter. And it should expand the
search toggle, search page panel.
It should expand.
Details page.
If enter doesn't work, space will work. Space is guaranteed. And what you can do,
go back, details page, record and edit on.
You can view information, where it comes from, what website it's from.
Install push button.
And there's an install button. We want to install, so press enter.
Stroke authenticate dialog. Password.
Now in Linux, you're not the administrator by default, so you'll need your login password for this. This will make sure you can make changes to the system, so I'll type in that in now. Type in the password.
Software frame. Details page panel. 73%.
And that's installing Audacity for us. And once it's installed, the install button will
go back, push details
will disappear.
Go detail record and edit launch push button.
And that'll turn into a launch button. But you're probably wondering now, if I want to run the application again, where will I find it? Most likely, it will be in the category that the application is assigned to generally. So in my case, I've installed Audacity and I will find that in the sound and video menu. Now I can exit you can exit an application by pressing Alt and F4, by the way.
Jordan Frame.
Let's double check that our application has actually appeared in that section.
Internet.
Generally hasn't.
Office Sound Audacity.
But here it has. Debian packages installed from the repositories generally do appear in their respective subcategories. If you want side-loaded apps to appear, you'll have to log out and log back in again, depending on your distribution.
Audacity.
But here I can see Audacity, and I can simply launch
Jordan
it.
Frame. Icon view. Applications menu. Menu. Welcome to Audacity. Frame.
And I can simply...
Don't show OK.
And I can simply use it. I'm not going to keep Audacity open. I'm pretty sure that you can try out Audacity for yourself. It's multi-platform. That's why I'm not showing any multi-platform apps on here, because you'll be able to use these regardless of whether you're using Linux or not. So that includes Thunderbird, LibreOffice, or if you want me to demonstrate Evolution Email, let me know. Evolution is a brilliant email client. It reminds me of the old legacy Outlook. So let's take a quick look at Synaptic.
Application. System Preferences Administrator Synaptic Package Manager.
And it's in here.
Jordan Frame. System Menu. Menu. Authenticate dialog.
Now you'll have to authenticate, just like we did when we were installing packages.
Jordan Frame. Quick introduction dialog. The software on your system is organized in so-called packages. The package manager enables you to install, to upgrade, or to remove software packages. You should reload the package information regularly, otherwise you could miss important security upgrades. Note: changes are not applied instantly. You have to mark all changes first and then apply them. You can mark packages for installation, upgrade or removal in several ways. Select the package and choose the action from the package menu. Double-click on the package name. Choose the action from the context menu of the package. Click on the status icon to open a menu that contains all actions. Close push button.
I'm going to close that.
Show this dialog.
And if you don't want the dialog showing up,
ticked.
You tick that.
Close push. Synaptic Package Manager Frame.
Now I've never liked Synaptic. I've always used GNOME software or the terminal. I've never been a fan of Synaptic. But for those who want to use it, it's there when you need it. And
reload push button.
It's not actually a bad thing per se, but it just contains too many
table with 120
confusing
rows,
things.
One column. All.
So you've got package categories just like these.
Amateur radio.
Amateur radio.
Communication.
Communication.
Communication. Contrib. Communication. Non-free.
Now you won't see these on your distribution. These are specific to Debian because Debian contains non-free and Contrib. In Ubuntu, you probably might see Universe and Multiverse right here.
Cross-platform.
And we've got cross-platform. Let's look for cross-platform and see what packages we've got there.
Cross-platform sections. Selected
and there's
radio
many different
button.
sections.
Status. Not select.
Status.
Origin. Custom filters. Search results. Not select. Architecture. Table with 164 rows, 6 columns. Image. Image. 64 tasks. 1.55.22001. Cross Turbo Assembler targeting the MOS65XX series of microprocessors. Not selected.
Now what this does is it gives you the version number of the package and a brief description of what it does. And you can navigate these via arrow keys.
Selected.
Now
Image. Acetone ISO 2.43b1. Feature-rich application to mount and manage CD and DVD images.
I don't know too much about this application, but what I do know is that you can mark applications by simply going to the package menu as the instructions stated, and then then once you've marked all the applications you want, you can click the install button, which I'm pretty sure is
read only, get check, scroll, reload, property table with
only if you check it, I think. And once you install a package, it will ask if you want to make any changes, and it'll tell you exactly what's being done. And then once that all is confirmed, it will begin the installation of the package. Now, this is kind of reminiscent of the old add/remove applications that we looked at in Trisqual a while back. Well, not a while back. It was earlier this last week. There's another application that is a little bit more user-friendly, GNOME Package Kit. I'm not going to look at GNOME Package Kit now. I'm going to look at the other way of doing stuff, and that's the command line. I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. And then go into the terminal.
Jordan Debian, frame, Jordan Debian, dollar, Jordan Debian, Jordan Debian, dollar, Jordan Debian.
So here we go. This is the terminal, and this is how I like to install packages. Now it's important that when you're installing packages, you know some commands. Now the important commands you're going to want to learn here, we're not going to be using too much. The important thing you need to know is sudo. That tells the computer to run a command as an administrator. Apt will tell you what program you want to run. In this case, we want to run the advanced packaging tool provided by Debian. And you've got options of install, which installs a package, and you just type the package name after the install. In this case, for instance, Audacity. Uninstall or remove. This will remove a package that's installed on your computer, i.e. GIMP. Purge will completely uninstall something, including deleting configuration files. Auto remove removes unused dependencies, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go update my system,
Sudo password for Jordan.
and I'm being asked for my password. Type that in.
0 working. Hit :1 HTTP. Security Debian org Debian security bullseye security in release hit :2 HTTP. Debian org Debian bullseye in release 0 waiting for headers connected to DL Google.com 2A00:1450:4009:816:200D. Hit :3 HTTP. Debian org Debian bullseye updates in release 0 connected to DL Google.com 2A00:1000.
Now, we generally don't need to worry about that. But if you do have package updates, we simply do sudo apt upgrade.
Reading package lists 0. Reading package lists. Done building dependency tree 0. 5 done. Building dependency tree. Done reading state information. Done. Calculating upgrade 10. Done. 0 upgraded. 0 newly installed. 0 to remove and 0 not upgraded Jordan Debian. $.
Now I've got nothing that needs updating, and generally if you're using Debian, you generally don't get too many updates apart from security updates. Debian is designed to be stable and rock solid. So that's terminal for you. So let's say I want to install an application. Let me think of one off the top of my head I want to install, or any package for that matter. Let's say I want to install think of one. Go on, we'll install Gnote, a note-taking application. So that depends if it's in the Debian repositories. I'm sure it is. I don't see it. I don't think it's been removed. So we type sudo apt install, and let's try Gnote, which is GNOME's note-taking application, and we press enter.
Reading package lists. Done building dependency tree 0. 5 done. Building dependency tree. Done reading state information. Done. The following NEW packages will be installed. Note 0 upgraded, 1 newly installed, 0 to remove, and 0 not upgraded. Need to get 3645 KB of archives. After this operation, 12.0 MB of additional disk space will be used. 0 working. Get :1 HTTP. Debian org Debian bullseye main AMD64 note AMD64 3.38.01 3645 KB 01 note 0B 3645 KB 0 14 1 note 635 KB 3645 KB 17 31 OneNote 1400 KB 3645 KB 38 46 OneNote 2008.
Now generally, just interrupt speech by pressing Control, and if you want to make sure it's installed, you can just listen through to the terminal blabbering on. But same as before,
Access and make note.
and here it is, it's in our accessories menu, and we can simply open it.
Jordan Debian, frame, Jordan Debian, dollar, applications menu, note frame, table with 2 rows, 2 columns.
And yeah, you can start making notes there that way too.
Jordan Debian.
So now I'm going to cover web browsing. Now, do I have a browser I can demonstrate? Here we go.
Jordan Debian, frame, Jordan Debian, dollar, applications menu, LibreWolf frame, search or enter address editable combo box.
Now, LibreWolf is based on Firefox, so you can follow along in Firefox. Everything is just the same. Or you can use any browser you want. I want to use LibreWolf. So let's go to a website. So let's just think of a random website. I want to go to www. Oh, I forgot to mention. I forgot to mention that to navigate to your address bar, it's the same as Windows, Alt and D. We want to go to RNIB.
UK. Search with DuckDuckGo or enter address editable combo box www.rnib.co.uk. Loading. Please wait. Personalize new tab push button. Leaving banner. RNIB home document web. Finished loading RNIB home. Page has 6 landmarks, 21 headings, 2 forms, 2 visited links, 54 unvisited links. Manage cookies. Push button.
Now, here we are. We are now officially browsing the RNIB website.
We use
and
accept manage cookie. Accept.
Let's just click that. These annoying cookie dialogues.
Black.
So, if you're used to using JAWS or NVDA, your commands are very much the same. Navigating by headings.
Home design for every gamer heading level 1.
Which is the heading which is H.
How we can help heading level 2. Cost of living link heading level 3. Community connection and well-being link heading level 3.
As I'm pressing H, Orca is reading by heading.
Living with sight loss link heading level 3. RNIB shop link heading level 3.
And that is really important, and especially since you don't want to be reading the entire website. Now, this is where I can also show you the reading commands. Now, they aren't really different to what you're used to in Windows. However, let me go to the top of the page with Control and Home.
Leaving main content.
And you simply read by the arrow keys.
Skip to main content link. RNIB homepage visited link. Switch to dark mode push button. Donate to RNIB link. Your eyes link. Collapsed. Living with site. Leaving list. Leaving navigation. Search this website push button. Leaving banner. Main content page content. Call our helpline on 030 home design for every gamer heading level 1.
And there you go. That's reading the entire web page line by line. Now you can also have Orca read from the beginning to the end by pressing Numpad Plus, similar to what you have in Dolphin's Supernova.
Home design for every gamer. Heading level 1. We believe in a world where everyone can game. Find out how we are creating a better gaming world for people with sight loss. Find out more. Link. Arva sat on her bed, playing.
There you go. And really good image descriptions, by the way. So as a visually impaired person myself, it's really important for these, and these will work regardless of what browser you're running. Now you can also
new version available. Click here for more info. Help balloon.
You can also do this. You can navigate by buttons.
Switch to dark mode push button.
By pressing B.
Search this website push button. Monthly expanded push button. Text unselect.
Search by links.
Skip to RNIB homepage. Visit donate to RNIB link.
So let's just click this link. So this will generally open the donate page as the link's pointing to. I just want to make sure. I just want to show you that it does work.
Loading. Please wait. Leaving banner. Donate RNIB document web. Finished loading. Donate RNIB.
And that means it's successfully linked to the donation page. Now, one of the best things about Orca is it tells you when a page is loading and when it's finished loading and so on and so forth. That is probably one of the best things about Orca. So that's that's web browsing. That's navigating web pages. Now that I've showed you the basics of using your computer and how you can generally do all this, last thing I want to quickly show you is editing text. So I'm going to my applications now, and I'm looking for my text. I'm looking for my text editor. Here it is, Pluma.
Donate RNIB LibreWolf frame. Applications menu. Unsaved document 1 Pluma frame. Unsaved.
And now I'm in a blank document. So this is a test. Now, as you can tell, Orca is reading by character, and by word as I type.
Test.
And I can read the sentence.
This is a test.
By going up.
This is a test.
And Linux will tell me when I've reached the end of the line by making that sound, which is really helpful. So that's a test document. So again, saving is very similar. I'm going to go save this anyway. On this particular text editor, you do File.
File menu.
Alt and F.
Open. Save. Control S.
Save, which is Control and S.
Save as. File chooser. Name. Text. Unsaved document 1 selected. Select.
Just tap Test.
Test. Pluma frame. Test page tab. Text. This is a test. Test. Pluma. Test. Pluma.
And there you go. It's saved. If you hear, you don't get confirmation that it's saved, but if you see that you've returned back to where you last chose to do something in the menu bar, then you know it's saved. And you can double check that by going into your Documents folder if Pluma saves there by default. So that's editing text. So let me say, I don't know if Pluma's got a spelling checker, but yeah, and you can do all sorts. You can navigate by character.
Space T.
So useful for when you may have made a mistake, or let's say, I'm going to type something now.
Selection
Today. Now, I've purposefully spelt Monday wrong, and I don't need a spell check, and I already know how to spell it. So what you can do is, if you've spelt it wrong, we simply need to go to the U.
N.
And you generally go one space after the N. Your cursor is actually on the U. And you press backspace, and that's deleted the character. Now Orca will say that will say the letter, so that you know when that it's been deleted. So now we simply enter the O in there instead.
O.
And now it should say.
Today is Monday.
There you go. Today is indeed Monday. Although depending on whether you're watching this today, may not be Monday at all. It might be Friday. Similar to the Devuan install video, if you remember a while back. So that's text editing, and you can select text.
Today is Monday. Selected.
Orca will let you know it's been selected. You can do that by character and word, and if you want to unselect text, you simply press any of the arrows.
Text unselected. Today is Monday.
It'll tell you that the text has been unselected, and so on and so forth. So you can read by words.
Monday is today.
With control and the left arrow and right arrow. In fact, everything has been made to be exactly like Windows, so you're not really missing out on anything if you switch over to... Oops, pardon me. If you switch over to Linux. So every application has a help menu, and you can activate that by pressing F1.
Help frame. Pluma manual.
And in this case, it's opened our Pluma manual. Pluma is the text editor in the Mate desktop. It might not even be called Pluma in your distribution. If you're using Linux Mint, for instance, you're not even using Pluma. You're using Linux Mint's own text editor, which is generally, I don't know what it's called on Mint, but that.
Test Pluma frame. Test page.
Now let's get out of here.
Alert question. Save changes to document test before closing. If you don't save, changes from the last 3 minutes will be permanently lost. Save push button.
Since we haven't made any more changes, we're going to quit.
Close without saving push button.
Oh yeah, we did make changes, but we don't want to save those, so we're going to close.
Donate RNIB Libra Wolf frame.
And now I'm back in my browser. I'm going to go close that now too.
Jordan Debian frame. Jordan.
And close the terminal.
Desktop.
Now, it's very important that regardless of what operating system you're using, you close down every application that you're not using to save memory. And now finally, I'm going to show you how to configure Orca itself, all of Orca's built-in features. So these aren't Linux specific, these are Orca specific. Now Orca has an amazing help manual and some amazing keyboard learn functionality. And some functionality may not be available unless you're in specific applications. So I'm going to show you how to turn on the keyboard learn. Now the Orca modifier key is the insert key by default, but you can set it to the caps lock. So I'll show you some of the commands you're going to want to be able to know. Insert and T tells you the time.
1844:33.
So that's 6. That corresponds to 6 PM. And if you press it twice,
8024:04:23.
you get the date. So the keyboard command, the keyboard help function will tell you a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and press the keyboard learn function.
Screen reader version 43.1. Entering learn mode. Press any key to hear its function. To view the screen reader's documentation, press F1. To get a list of the screen reader's default shortcuts, press F2. To get a list of the screen reader's shortcuts for the current application, press F3. To exit learn mode, press the escape key.
So those instructions are really clear, so I can just press any letter.
H.
It'll tell me exactly what it does.
O.
But if I press insert,
Insert.
and then
Insert D.
Gem
In D. In R. In D. In S. In space. In tab. Return. Return. Escape. Exiting learn mode. Application Graphinton Carja Chrome Google iStubMe.
let's let me open an application
Home icon. Applications menu. Menu. Libra Wolf frame.
and then try and turn on the
Screen
thing.
reader version 43.1. Entering left control.
And now we can find out what's going on.
H. Go to next heading.
So it tells you exactly what the command does.
A. Hotel. Go to next heading. N. N. November.
Now you can actually do this funny thing. You can, well, not funny, but if you want to hear a character in its code form, in its phonetics.
L. Lima. Go to next list.
So I don't know what
L. L. Go to next list.
L takes you to the next list.
K. Go to next link.
So all the commands here are very similar to the experience you may have had using other screen readers. So S.
S. Go to next separator. D. Go to next live region. C. Go to next combo box. B. Go to next button. C. Go to next. Go to next checkbox. C. Go to next backslash. V. Go to next visited link. A. Go to next clickable. Q. Go to next block quote. R. Go to next radio button. 3. Go to next heading at level 3.
So you can go between headings and levels and stuff. Now we're going to cover some of the Orca specifics.
Int D. Present current time.
Present the current time.
In 3. Go to bookmark.
Now Orca has a bookmarks feature, so you can bookmark certain things. If you want to learn more about Orca, check out the official documentation.
In page up. Return. Space. M. Go to next landmark. Right square bracket.
So to end the video, I'm going to show you how to change some of Orca's settings.
Escape. Exiting learn mode.
Plus some settings that I recommend you use so that you can have the best experience, particularly if you're new to using Linux. So I'm going to go ahead and press insert and space.
General page tab.
And that's taken me to the screen reader preferences, and we are on the general page. Now to navigate by tabs, you simply use the left and right arrow keys.
Voice page tab. Speech page tab. Braille page tab. Echo page tab.
If you're using an older version of Orca, this will simply be called Key Echo.
Key bindings page tab. Pronunciation page tab. Text attributes page tab. General page tab.
Now you can navigate these by tabs, so these are your settings you're going to want to change.
Keyboard layout panel. Desktop. Selected progress bar updates panel. Speak updates checkbox ticked.
Now here you can change how you want your progress bar updates. I recommend ticking beep updates, specifically if you're switching from NVDA. Your beeps won't be that sound like that of NVDA, but they get the job done, so nothing to worry about. The first
Keyboard
option that you
layout
want to do.
panel. Desktop. Selected radio button.
Now you can change your keyboard layout here from desktop to laptop, similar to NVDA.
Progress bar updates tab. Braille updates checkbox not ticked.
Now if you've got Braille display, you can have the Braille updates.
Beep updates checkbox ticked.
And beep updates, I have this checked. This isn't checked by default, but I recommend you have this checked, especially if you're switching from NVDA.
Frequency set. 10-spin button.
I don't know anything too much about frequency, but it does work, so no, not going to complain.
Applies to combo box mouse panel. Present tooltips checkbox not ticked.
Now you can present tooltips. You can have NVDA, Orca read stuff under the mouse. I'm going to check these because I've not played with all these.
Speak object under mouse checkbox not ticked.
You can speak object on the mouse. Now this is really important, specifically if someone's moving your mouse for you and you're trying to activate something.
Ticked.
So tick those.
Time and date panel. Time format. Combo box. 1847:53.
Now if you're not used to 24-hour time, this is where you can change it.
6:47 p.m.
So you can have 12-hour time. I recommend you go for that.
Date format. Combo box.
Date format.
240423.
Now if you want the official, you can change to US date format, European date format. I'm going to change this.
2000 Monday, 24 April. Monday, April 24.
I'm going to change it.
Monday, 24 April, 2023. Monday, April 24, 2023.
I'm going to change it to this one.
Monday, 24 April, 2023.
Because that's how we do our dates here in the UK.
Say all panel. Enable rewind and fast forward in say all checkbox not ticked.
And this is your say all settings, so you can have like your reader and stuff, like your say all and all that, reading the entire document.
Enable structural navigation in say all checkbox not ticked. Announce block quotes in say all checkbox ticked. Announce forms in say all checkbox ticked. Enable structural navigation. Announce forms in say all.
So you can choose what you want Orca to announce while reading a document.
Announce landmarks in say all checkbox. Announce lists in say all. Announce panels in say all. Announce tables in say all checkbox ticked.
I generally turn
not ticked.
Table announcement on and off because I generally don't like hearing when there's tables.
Say all by.
Say all by.
Sentence.
Sentence. This will read the entire This will read the document sentence by sentence. Although if you're using Accessible Coconut, this will use sentence using full stop, and that might be confusing with some people. I recommend you stick to the default sentence navigation mode.
Profiles panel. Active profile. Combo box. Load push button.
And you can actually store your Orca preferences you can take those with you, so they're available on any computer you use Orca on.
Save as push button. Remove push button. Startup profile. Help push. Apply push button.
And if you changed any settings, you can click the apply.
Screen reader settings reloaded.
So we've changed some settings.
Cancel OK push general page tab.
And here
voice page tab.
Is the voice page tab. Now this is where you can change your text to speech engine and your and what voices you want. Now since there aren't that many voices on Linux, and there is unofficial support for Eloquence, but I generally don't recommend using Eloquence regardless. It's really old and not getting updates.
Voice type settings panel. Voice type. Combo box. Default.
If you want Eloquence, you can get it through Voxin, and you'll have to buy Voxin, unfortunately. There's no way to get Voxin for free. I'm pretty much used to eSpeak anyway, so I generally don't use other speech synthesizers unless I have to. Other free speech synthesizers you can get here are RH Voice. That's another free, and Festival. Now you could get SVOX Pico, but there are legal issues with Pico, specifically because Pico was bundled with Android back in the old days.
Speech system. Combo box.
This is where you can change your speech system.
Voice type. Combo box. Speech system.
So speech system, if you use a different speech method, so you can use a hardware speech synthesizer. Speech dispatcher is the default software speech synthesizer on most Linux distributions.
Speech synthesizer. Combo box. Default synthesizer.
So here's where you can change your speech synthesizer. Since I've only got one installed, that's eSpeak, that's all you're going to see. And now,
language. Combo
you can change your speech language, and you can navigate those by the arrows.
Person.
Speech voice.
Capitalization style.
Capitalization.
Rate. Horizontal slider 50.
And you can change your rate, and that's a slider.
Pitch. Horizontal slider 5.0. Volume. Global voice settings panel. Break speech into chunks between pauses checkbox ticked. Speak multicase strings as words checkbox not ticked. Speak numbers as digits checkbox not ticked.
Speak numbers as digits, no. Speak them as words.
Help push apply cancel push OK push voice page tab.
Since we've not changed any settings in here, we're going to go over to speech.
Speech page tab.
Now, if you're used to using JAWS and Supernova, I know where you'd get confused. You'd think that your voice settings are in your speech. They're not, in fact, in your speech. You'll find your verbosity settings here generally. So let's just
enable speech checkbox ticked.
You can turn speech on and off. Useful if you just want to keep Orca on.
Verbosity panel. Verbose. Selected radio button.
So you've got 3 levels of verbosity. You've got verbose, brief. Oh no, you've got 2. Brief and verbose.
Verbose. Selected radio button.
Verbose is the default setting.
Punctuation level panel. None. Selected radio button.
Now I've kept it on none. I generally use your default. By factory, it's the some punctuation, or some distributions may use most punctuation.
Spoken context panel. Only speak displayed text checkbox not ticked.
Now, don't worry if you don't understand some of these. Generally, you're not going to want to change some of these. The only ones you're going to want to change are
speak blank lines checkbox ticked.
Speak blank lines.
Speak indentation and justification checkbox not ticked.
Now that might be too much. You can generally keep that off.
Speak misspelled word indicator checkbox ticked.
Speak misspelled words. Useful if you make spelling errors a lot and you want to correct any spelling mistakes.
Speak object mnemonics checkbox not ticked.
Speak object mnemonics, and this will tell you object mnemonics are generally so here's an example. Let's say you are in, I don't know, Thunderbird, and you want to, and you're going to the menu bar. You can say you can generally Alt and F, or say like you have the file menu, and it'll say, oh no, let me think of a better example. When you're navigating your applications and you want to open Google Chrome, for instance, it would say Google Chrome. Now by default it doesn't say anything, but if you turn on object mnemonics, it will say G. So it says the first letter of the item, so you can just you can open an application by pressing a letter. So I recommend turning this on.
Ticked. Speak child position checkbox not ticked.
Speak child position, that's somewhat similar.
Ticked.
To what I just said.
Speak tutorial messages checkbox not ticked.
Speak tutorial messages, so this tells you exactly how to use controls.
Ticked.
Similar to what you get in JAWS, NVDA doesn't have this functionality.
Speak description checkbox ticked.
Speak description.
System messages are detailed checkbox ticked.
System messages are
detailed.
detailed.
Speak colours as names check. Announce lock quote. Announce forms during. Announce landmarks. Announce lists during navigation. Announce panels. Announce speak full row in GUI.
So all you've got, these are your navigation specific ones.
Speak full row. Speak for help. Apply. Cancel push. Apply.
We're going to apply these.
Screen reader settings reloaded.
And you'll notice now.
Cancel push button. Alt-C. To activate, press space.
It's telling us what the keyboard shortcut is and how to activate it.
OK push button. Alt-O. Speech page tab. 3 of 8. Use left and right to view other tabs.
And not only that, but now NVDA tells you how many items you've got. I know, what am I saying, NVDA? And now Orca is telling you how many items are in a specific list and what number you are on. So let's say you're in a list of folders in the file manager, and let's say your documents is 2 of 10, for instance. It would say documents 2 of 10. By default, it wouldn't say anything, documents folder, but now it's saying 2 of 10. I have no idea why distributions don't turn these on automatically. If you're using the old accessible Coconut, then obviously these are turned on by default. But you know where to go to turn these on, so it doesn't really matter, you can easily go turn these on.
Enable speech checkbox ticked. Alt-E. Press space to toggle. Verbosity panel. NX speech OK push button.
So we're going to go
page tab.
away from the speech page.
Braille page tab.
Braille.
Echo page tab.
And this is where you can change your character echo.
Enable key echo checkbox not ticked. Alt-K. Press space to toggle.
Enable key echo, which if you enable this, then Orca is going to say every key that you press, and that can get extremely annoying. So I recommend you turn this off, and in doing so, you can also keep a few other settings on should you need them.
Enable echo by character checkbox ticked.
Enable echo by
Alt-R.
character. So if you want NVDA to just read your characters while you're typing, enable that.
Enable echo by word checkbox ticked. Alt-W.
Enable echo by word. So again, it will read words every time you press the spacebar on them.
Enable echo by sentence checkbox not ticked. Alt-S.
This is unchecked, but I should assume that when you press the period to enter sentence, or the full stop key in this case, and Orca is going to read the sentence. I keep
Notification from Google Chrome. Current time 7 o'clock. Actions window.
I keep getting mixed up with the NVDA. I am filming this on a Windows 10 powered computer. Well, it's actually my iMac, but I've repurposed it into a Windows PC because it's no longer getting macOS updates.
Help push button. Apply push button. Alt-A. Cancel put OK push button. Alt-O.
And we're officially done.
Screen reader settings reloaded. LibreWolf frame. Search with DuckDuckGo or enter address editable combo box. Type in text.
And now you can see our settings start to take effect. So that's how to deal with Orca. Now, as you've seen in my installation videos, the way to toggle on Orca is by simply pressing Alt, Super, and S. So that's for both GNOME, Mate, and for historical purposes, Unity. Debian doesn't ship Unity for obvious reasons. Unity is no longer getting updates, and it's highly unlikely Debian is going to bring Unity back. And as far as I know, Canonical wants nothing to do with Unity anymore. Canonical's focusing on new things. Newer versions of Ubuntu ship with the GNOME desktop, and you've got stuff like Ubuntu Mate. Canonical does have a flavour of Ubuntu called Ubuntu Unity, but since Canonical no longer maintains the desktop itself, Unity is left in the dust. I've got a feeling Canonical is going to discontinue Unity altogether in the coming years, unless the Ubuntu Unity team fork Unity into something else. In the meantime, though, that's Orca. If there's any other things you want to learn about, like learning how to use specific apps in Linux, then let me know. So as I said, I'm using Debian. Don't matter what distribution you're using. I chose Debian because it's stable, and I absolutely love Debian. It's generally, when it comes to accessibility, it's the most accessible distribution. Simply because its installer is accessible. If you go for the network install, you've got multiple choice, a lot of desktop environments to choose from. I recommend either GNOME, Mate, or Cinnamon. Generally, I recommend Mate because it's the most accessible one. And so on and so forth.
Downloads push button. Bookmarks toolbar. New tab page tab. Open a new tab. Control D menu button. To activate, press space. Reload push button. Search with DuckDuck. Downloads push button.
So I'm actually in my web browser right now, as you can hear. I'm going to go close this out.
Desktop.
I've been using that. Now I don't need to show you any multi-platform applications, because stuff like LibreOffice you can already go and download on Windows and Mac. So I'd see no reason to show off those. To show them off. Generally, if NVDA works with an application, Orca is Thunderbird, yep. Mozilla Firefox, yep. In my case, LibreOffice, yep. Those are what I consider the core applications. I'm gonna go remove the keyboard from here and then put them back in my other computer.
Pause, but stop, take.
So that was my video on the Orca screen reader. This is Jordan signing off, saying have a good day, everyone.